just the tip. Henry had a paintbrush. It was his most prized possession. Henry practiced painting with his brush every day. Even if he was busy, he always made time to practice. Sadly, all that Henry could do was pretend, because he didn't have any paint. Sometimes he would watch videos of other paintbrushes dipped in paint and imagine that it was his brush. Not a day went by that Henry didn't daydream of using his paintbrush with real paint. Many nights it was all he could think about. Henry had a next-door neighbour named Cindy. Cindy loved to paint. She had many beautiful colours and knew how to mix them together to achieve the perfect hue. But Cindy did not have a paintbrush. Of course, this did not stop her from painting. She just used her fingers. Cindy often wondered what it would be like to use a real paintbrush. Sometimes she watched videos of paintbrushes dipped in paint and imagined that it was her paint. Not a day went by that Cindy didn't daydream about finding a real paintbrush to use with her paints. Luckily, one warm summer afternoon, Henry ran into Cindy in his favourite neighbourhood park. As he walked by and nodded hello, he noticed something on her fingers. He stopped mid-stride. "Cindy," exclaimed Henry, "is that paint on your hands?" "Yes," she replied shyly. "I like to paint, but I don't have a paintbrush, so I use my fingers." Henry was so excited he could barely contain himself. He had no idea that Cindy liked to paint. "I have a paintbrush," he blurted out. "Maybe we could paint together sometime." It had never occurred to Cindy that Henry might own a perfectly fine paintbrush. "This could be my chance to see what it's like to use a real paintbrush with my paints," she thought to herself. "Yes, that would be nice," she replied. The next day, Cindy invited Henry to her house and led him to her bedroom where she kept her paints. Henry was excited to see real paint for the first time. He had practiced with his brush for many hours the previous evening in anticipation. In fact, he had even trimmed the bristles to look like the ones he had seen in his videos. Henry presented his paintbrush to Cindy. Hesitantly, she reached out and touched the tip, then ran her hand softly down the wood. Likewise, Henry reached out and put the tips of his fingers in Cindy's paint. "How do you think we should do this?" Henry asked nervously. "Well," replied Cindy, "maybe you can help me prepare first." "Okay," Henry agreed. "What do I do?" Cindy picked up a can of paint and brought it over to Henry. Henry reached out as Cindy guided his hands. "Nice and steady," she assured him. "Not too fast, but not too slow either." Cindy closed her eyes so she could focus on the texture of the paint and tell Henry when to stop. "Almost there," she said. "Okay," said Cindy, "I think we're ready." "All right," Henry squeaked as he prepared his paintbrush. "But I'm nervous. I've never used real paint before." "I'm nervous too," replied Cindy. "I've never used a real paintbrush with my paints before." They stood silently for a moment. "I have an idea," said Cindy. "Maybe we can try just the tip." Henry considered Cindy's idea. "Yes," he said, "that's a good idea. Let's start with just the tip." Ever so slowly, Henry inserted the tip of his brush into the wet paint. He heard Cindy quietly gasp as the perfect blot of paint covered the tip of his brush. "What do you think?" asked Henry. "I think it's going well so far," Cindy answered. Henry dipped the tip of his brush a few more times. "I think we can try more than just the tip now," Cindy said confidently. Henry and Cindy soon forgot all about their initial hesitation. Together with Cindy mixing the colours and Henry wielding his brush, they got to work. "Wow, that was fast," Cindy exclaimed as Henry finished. They stood silently to admire their first picture. I think I need a bit more practice," Henry admitted. "Well, I have lots of paint. Could we try again tomorrow?" Cindy asked. I would like that very much, said Henry. After cleaning up, Cindy continued to marvel at their first painting while Henry washed his brush in the sink. I think you should keep that, said Henry. It will look nice on your wall. I think it will too, replied Cindy. They were both having so much fun they didn't notice it was starting to get dark outside. Oh, said Henry, I need to be getting home. It's my bedtime soon. See you tomorrow? Definitely, said Cindy. I'll see you and your paintbrush then. Henry waved goodbye to Cindy as he left. That night, Henry was overwhelmed with joy. I finally did it, he whispered to himself. I used my paintbrush with real paint. He smiled as he drifted off to sleep, thinking about all the different ways he and Cindy would paint together for many days to come. The end.